Hey, welcome in, guys. We are now finally about to bring up this PC Engine GT. So this has been, I reckon, around 14-15 hours on this now, but it's all done bar a LCD install, hopefully. So we've got all the components on. We've identified as well every single component except this Q503, Q9, I want to say Q9 something, maybe Q501 and Q504 actually. I'm sure it was a 903 though. So we haven't identified Q5, yeah, 902, that's one. So we haven't identified 902 and 503 and 501, I think it is. Every single other chip on this entire board we've tested, have a bill of materials for and identified. I've found replacement DC jacks. These are off the Game Gear. We've got replacement headphone jacks. I've got replacement wheels here for the contrast. I should be able to hopefully source replacement ones for these, but I've never been able to find them yet because they're basically mirrored wheels. So this one's the original, but it'd be nice to either find one of them or make a little adapter board, or even just make these up, have a factory produce them for us. This connector thing works really good, so now I'm probably going to make this little board just for how simple, like it's crazy simple. You'd have to desolder your connector, but then it could come with, you know, this prefixed attachment and a ribbon, and then I can have this board coming with a connector as well, so that, you know, it comes ready to replace this board as well. But yeah, basically we want to now do a bring up. I think we've got everything on. I've had a glance over just to double check, and there's nothing different about it. Basically there's nothing Rusty, he's sleeping in bed. I've just taken a picture before I come down. I've got up early enough this morning that he hasn't come down, so he is absolutely passed out in the bed, zonked. So he won't be with us for a few hours. He'll be in bed probably till 9 today. I think he likes a lion on a Friday. Still up? No, I've been in bed for a few hours. So just doing a quick double check before we attempt to bring this up, making sure we've made no mistakes in terms of solder bridges or anything else. I was very careful when we were transferring these things over, because not only have we transferred them over, we've measured them in a component tester or LCR meter, so we know that pretty much every component on this board, well, every component on this board does work, with the exception of this was dead on the customers, Q507, but this is actually bypassed with the mod we're going to be doing, so luckily the one component that was dead doesn't matter. Morning Max, welcome in. We're hopefully going to bring this PC Engine to life in a minute. We want to make sure this backlight H, not sure what it stands for, but basically it's clearly backlight, because this, if you bridge this, it sends power through the inductor to the high voltage backlight circuit. We don't want that bridged, otherwise this board is zappy everywhere you touch it, and we're going to be doing an LCD mod, so you don't need that high voltage. So that's off. We've got to test this regulation circuit, because if this regulation circuit isn't regulating right, we're going to blow the whole system straight away. So that's a very important step. We need to bring up this system. So the visual inspection looks fine. I can't see any issues. We can't see any bridges on anything. You know, like I say, we did all this that slow and careful. I wouldn't expect it. We made this board look as much like a factory soldering job as we could. So I'm pleased with the results. I'll probably use it as a photo for, in fact I'll probably do that now. Well, actually, we got this, is this overhead zoom enough out to get like a nice little screen capture of the board? Oh, it isn't quite, or is it that way? Right, I could do it that way, pull focus, get it nice and sharp, and then let me hide the overlays, so you guys won't hear me for a second while I hide the overlays. And there we go. So that now I can use, basically I can screen capture the I should have just screen captured my screen at the time, but I can just screen capture the live now for a nice little photo of this board. I'll do one conventional photo as well, and then when we start potentially selling these pre-assembled or 90% pre-assembled, we'll have a decent photo. So let me bring this close. Try to get a good photo of this. And I don't think we're going to get, I'm going to have to Photoshop out the background, I think, which is no big problem. Because in order to get a good shot, we're seeing a little bit of the background. If I go too high to get it all in the grey matte, then you're kind of seeing it's a bit of a sharp angle. Let me see. The only other thing I could do is angle it down more. Not that much, I wish it just stopped sliding. Put that in and Photoshop that out maybe. This is literally how I make the photos, by the way. I've got all the professional equipment, but I use my phone and a grey mat for half of them. So this does not want to stay. So that's like as low as I can get it, but I think the angle on that's going to ruin it because it's a bit too angly. So we'll just do flats as well. And then we'll get on to hopefully powering this thing up. Nice clean part of the mat. There we go. So we've got the product photos. We've inspected everything. And iPhone 17, this is a smashed up Google. I've dropped this about 7 times. I never break phones usually, but I've started wearing like jogger pants, like Adidas jogger pants. And this phone just slides out of it permanently, basically. It slides out the pockets, it's that big, so I've dropped it on stone floor like 7 times. It's crying out for me to buy a new one. So I think we are ready to try and power this up. So before we plug anything in, let's test the voltage circuit. Morning, welcome in. Hopefully this is going to be working today. If it doesn't, we're going to have to diagnose it. If it does, we're going to install a screen. All we have to remember is this was completely non-working from the customer, like nothing at all worked. So no power, no audio, no video, nothing at all. Well, no, I think he had power, sorry, but he had no audio, no video. So all we've basically done is transferred everything over to the PC Engine RePCB board. We haven't fixed anything as such, and every component on there that was needed was usable. Obviously we've replaced like a slider and a headphone jack and fuses, to be honest, so we would have actually potentially fixed a few things. It's had it's had new fuse, new audio jack, so the fuse might fix power issues, the audio jack might fix audio. So there's a few things we might have inadvertently done as part of this test, well, this work to make it work. Right. Oh yeah, transparent shell. Now, I've already got the model. See, the thing is, I've made the models for like the Atari Lynx 2 already. I made them years ago. Never produced them. So I could actually show you because it'd be interesting for people. But the problem is, so I haven't got SolidWorks installed. I can't show you on this PC. Can I get a... Yeah, nothing's installed on this PC SolidWorks wise, otherwise I'd show you. I could get the Lynx 2 made up in like temporary resin, you know, like you can get now high quality resin prints, just as low volume proof of concepts or generated interest. But the problem I've always had is I produce everything in mass. I don't do 3D printed low volume shells or anything like that. I just go straight in with steel molds. We injection mold it and we make 1,000 shells per colour at a time. So the whole process of making, like, you know, the Game Boy shells or the PC Engine shells is anywhere from 10 to 30,000 for the modelling, designing time, steel moulds, all that good stuff. And then when you make the product, you've then got to make 1,000 shells, so you then got the cost of 1,000 shells on top. So you're usually anywhere from 30 to 50 grand every time I make a shell. If I do that for the links, I don't think I'm ever going to sell £30,000 worth of shells. They're just not that popular. Same issue with the PC Engine. I can make them, no problem. I could make a perfect clone, but are we ever going to sell them is the question. I don't think there's enough interest in it to sell them. I've lost the tip off this as well. It fell off at some point. It's usually always down here because it catches on the table and then falls off. But today it's gone missing completely. Yeah, I'm gonna have to buy spares of them because I think I lost one recently. So I think I've already used a spare from somewhere else. So it's definitely not on the desk, is it? Nope. Right, I'm gonna have to nick a big green one from up here in a minute now. Right. So the ground probe now. We have ground. I'm gonna have to remember to order some of these then. Spares. Right, what we want to do, or what I'm doing here now, is getting the power at the top here, and all this is on retro6.wiki if you want to learn. We're going to inject, I'm just going to inject 5 volts to start with. This needs to be more than 5 volts because this circuit regulates it down to 5 volts. But this is where the batteries would come in. So you'd connect the batteries from here, so the batteries will plug in here. They'll send it up through the fuse, which is here. So it'll go through this fuse, I believe. And then into the power switch, and then all the way out to this circuit here. And this then drops whatever voltage from the batteries up to 9 volts here, down to 5 volts. So we're acting like a battery by injecting power into the switch. But I'm only setting it, my bench is set to 5 volts. I've got no way of actually showing you that bench. There's no, I don't think there's a single camera. Yeah, I don't think a swingy camera can even get to there because it's, I think I tried this last time, the actual, if we go to this camera, I think it can't swing around and see because this arm is literally, it's there behind the arm. So you see this yellow plastic thing back here. Well, you can't even see that. See my hand here? It's down there. So just the way I've got the camera oriented, it's the camera's body itself that blocks that. So you'll just have to trust me for now on the readings. I'll maybe try and think of some way to show you. I used to do it on a stream. I used to overlay the voltage as a screen, but there's that many overlays already on this stream. I don't really want to start adding too many more. But that would be nice for you to be able to see the multimeter. So I'm injecting 5 volts. Right, so that's 130 milliamps. So is a power switch on? Yeah, so power switch off at 0 milliamps. Power switch on 130. So that's about right. That's what it should pull. So now we want to check. That's a good sign. Early start for me, this is. Well, it's not actually an early start, it's a normal start. An early start to be like 4 or 5, but I did a bit of work on the Game Gear before I come on. Where we left the Game Gear last night, I just stripped the, I don't know if you remember or saw, but we'd used the VDP of this one, so I've stripped the CPU, the Z8T, the cartridge connector. That's the alarm that I'll never see because it goes off at 6:30 in case I'm dead, where I think I'm always awake when that goes off. Yes, that's now just good for the bin. Oh, and I've nicked the inductor, the transformer there because they're usable in, funnily enough, PC Engine GT. So I'm going to start harvesting them. So let's just check if we've got, I presume we should have just under 5 volts in this regulation circuit, because it'll try to regulate from the battery voltage, which you can see there is 0 at the minute. I'm not probing on anything. So if I go on, stick ground in there, so that one's ground, so I've gone arm free. So if we go to the battery, this is the bench power supply, so it's supplying the 5 volts. This will be the regulated output, and there you go, you can actually see it's 5 volts, so it's not got a drop. If I turn it off, the voltage goes. Turn it on, it's 5 volts, well, close enough to. So now I'm going to increase this voltage over here, this bench, to 6 volts, and then if this is failing, which I hope it isn't, then this would regulate down to 5 volts still. So we have 6 volts on the input still, and then over here now, so it's not working. So the regulator circuit isn't working, so we've got 6 volts there, so we don't want to power this up basically. If there's an issue, which is strange because we've tested every single component on this board, like every one. Well, the only one we haven't been able to test yet is the Q503, so maybe he's actually faulty, and that's why we're having trouble trying to test him. But in this instance, because I've said anyway, you'd probably want to change this for a regulated circuit. I'm going to change this circuit for a clean power circuit. So we've got a regulated switchable power into this. It's better than risking this failing. This is similar to an Atari Lynx, where if it fails it can overvolt. It's not got a safety mechanism where if this circuit fails it cuts off. Instead it's the opposite. If it fails it just sends the battery voltage into the system. So this isn't safe, and that would mean that's probably what's blown the customer's system in the first place. Like one of the issues, it's probably overvolted, maybe then overheated one of these main ICs, which we hope it hasn't. What it normally does though, these ICs are quite tolerant to dumping excess voltage for a short period, well even hours at some cases, and it would hopefully have blown this fuse here. So might have blown everything, but hopefully not. So I've got a guide for doing this. There's one way of doing it. You can just put an LDO on here. It's a quick and easy way, but the LDO is going to get hot, like very hot, so unless you're going to tack it to the original shield, which I'm not going to put back on, we want a switching power supply. So not all hope is lost, but before we do anything else with this board, we need to now replace that power circuit. So it's almost like the never-ending PC Engine GT. We will get this one to live. Let's put them down there. And I'm just trying to think what's my latest board that's also small. The Game Boy Pocket Clean Power will do nicely here. We've also been restricted already on TikTok for selling. Where have I sold? You tell me where I've sold. This TikTok's crazy. I say it every time, but yeah. So now TikTok has decided that this live already, I'm apparently selling you goods outside of TikTok when I've not even mentioned anything yet about selling a single thing. It's absolutely ridiculous. So TikTok will be nice and limited. You won't see anybody else on there now. You'll get like 10 people on instead of 400. Every time it boosts up to like 400 viewers, TikTok just start banning the next like 4 or 5 lives. It's crazy. It's like they don't want you to actually do well on it. Game Boy Pocket. So if you're one of the remaining like 10 people on TikTok, definitely try and share this out, because this is now going to get completely blocked from views. Nobody else is going to join otherwise. Not that it matters too much to me, but it would be nice that people actually get to see stuff like this. It's interesting. So what I'm going to do is replace this entire circuit now with this little clean power. We're going to leave this in. I'm just going to take out this transistor, and then this is going to replace it. It'll sit nicely there as well. We might even be able to tack one of these pads somewhere. I think maybe like that as an anchor. But this will sit quite nicely there. And then we'll do a photo. So I've not replaced it with a clean power Game Boy Pocket before. This is the first time. But I know what I'm doing, so this won't be a problem. If we take this off, then the entire circuit that's trying to regulate won't work anyway. And we can just then replace the output and the input basically. Oh yeah, the Doom chair is responsible for all the VDPs dying on the Game Gear, to be honest. I think it secretly kills half of these components. I finished replaying finally. You know the I'm gonna pull up my Steam account. I purchased the Doom games because I always purchase them. It's another one of the ones I like, but I rarely ever play. I used to like Doom on PC, but I don't think it's got that much replayability for me anymore. But which one did I play? Let me look. Doom, is it just the Doom one I played? Last played 29th of July, playtime 12. Yeah, so it's literally Doom it is. What are we on the overhead screen here? I played this Doom. I brought it years and years and years ago and never ever played it. And then you can see in June I actually decided I was going to play it and smashed it for, I think I must have completed it in the 12 hours. Absolutely loved that game then. And then I brought the next one, which was Doom Eternal. Was that the next one? Yeah, and you can see I played for 44 minutes because I thought it was so cartoony and basically shit. But everybody else who's played the two Dooms raves about it and says like, you know, Doom Eternal's meant to be so much better and more complex and all this. I thought the original Doom was really accurate to the original. Really, like, the mood and the vibes were perfect. And then I just thought the Eternal, I turned it on and I thought, I had to check after I played it. I come off and Googled it, which one come out first. I thought I was playing an older version that was shit graphics and just hadn't been improved yet. And no, it's the second version, like, you know, the next version. But I just couldn't, like, bring myself to play it. I just thought the gameplay was just shocking. Like, I just could not. And yet, when I brought this up on Discord, people were like, "Oh no, it's the best one. It's by far the best." I'm like, it isn't for me. I can't play it. It's it does nothing for me at all. So let me just check out the 5-volt circuit. So what we have is, we've got an transistor here. So this is the battery voltage input where 9 volts is going to come in. This is the output we want to be 5 volts, but this isn't ground, this is the base to the transistor. So we need to, luckily, the orientation of this can either go here. These pins do nothing, they don't literally connect to anything, they're just floating pads. This one is the output, so we can tack to there. So we could sit it on there, but this is the input. So we could also tack this almost to there. It'd have to be slanted, which is ugly, or there, or shall we try and find another place and just use neat wires, because you can sit it on there, but the pads don't really line up to where you want. The output is underneath, so we'd have to run a wire underneath, which isn't a biggie. That might just about tack, but this isn't ground, so you can't do that. You'd have to maybe stick it there. So we've got an option of sticking it there and having discrete wires underneath, or we could stick it somewhere else, like down there if we wanted, and run some wires. Or what do we think? Either down here with wires or up here, double-sided tape probably underneath to hide it. Well, either way, it's double-sided tape to hold it in place, with hidden wires, so it looks discreet. I don't think there's any other neat way, because if you're going to put wires on, you might as well put it out the way here and just run the wires neat looking. Otherwise, I'm tempted to put it basically here, but I don't think, like I say, there's an orientation where see, you can tack it on at an angle and it looks stupid. At that angle, I don't think I'll get a solder bridge from there to there. It's quite a jump. I probably would. I could probably fix that there, to be honest, but then this is so close to that pad. So I think it makes a bit more sense. Plus, if we need to replace it, it's a bit less tacky having, you know, it's stuck down up there and wires hidden. So probably like there, something like that. Because I don't think you can get much closer. Oh, you could maybe. Actually, you could fit it there, but does that look a bit cluttered? I quite like it in this open space where there's nothing. It almost looks like it was a space ready to be modded, so I'm going to go there, I think. Double-sided tape. I think Zach's nicked my super thin stuff, but I've got this this foam tape, which is fine. I think we're split on whether we stick it up or down, but I'm personally going to go for the down for now. And it's a shame we haven't got white wire. We've got a white board and I'm going to have red wire. What about the other side? No, it's got the logo on. The only other thing I could do is Yeah, I don't know. Well, to be honest, the tape, I tell you what, I might change my mind actually saying that. If I put some double-sided foam on, it's going to lift it up in the air. I'm going to go up here, change my mind completely. What I'm going to do, I don't want to see red wires running on a whiteboard. So, let's see. I still need to find ground though. I want to find a really close ground because we're going to find that this wire is going to be visible for ground no matter what. So I'm going to tack on this wire, and it's only running, the PC Engine only runs 100 milliamps on 5 volts, and then with the screen it's going to run 200 to 300, but this is perfectly fine for that. This wire's no mather. So we want, well, we'll cut it oversized for now. That's the input. The output will do the same, and then we need to find ground nice and close because we want to. I'm even tempted, and it's probably sacrilege, but to scrape the PCB under here if there's a ground plane running here somewhere, just so we can hide the wire. But then, do we really want to scrape a nice, perfectly new white PCB? Probably not. Right, so that's them on. So they're the input and output. Now let's try and find a ground. Yeah, I definitely agree. The 2016 Doom's the best one. I want to play it again, to be honest. I enjoyed it, but again, it was a long game, and I've only just recently played it. I don't think I can bring myself to play it again just yet, but I did enjoy it. Right, so, what are we going to find? Oh, blob of solder, get that out of the way. There can't be a ground too far away. Yes, right there, beauty. Yep, it's definitely ground. Yep, so I'll just go on this cap here, perfect. And where else would be ground? Let me just double check, so we're getting like 19 ohms. Yeah, 12 ohms, so that's definitely ground, because even the battery to the power connector is the same. So I'll put another little wire on that cap, and then we can wire this in, and I'll do a little photo, or again, what I'll do is pause the stream. Well, not pause it, just leave it for a second, and I can screenshot the stream then for making guides on the wiki, so people can also do this. I could also make a dedicated board, but the fact I literally have one, it just has Game Boy Pocket Clean Power written on, or GBP Clean Power, doesn't really matter. So there's no point reinventing the wheel. This is a perfectly valid board. The only thing if I remade it is I could make it physically sit over these 3 pins and, you know, a bit nicer install, but again, not popular enough really to make a custom board for, I don't think. How do I get into soldering and repairing my Atari Lynx? I wouldn't probably start with the Atari Lynx, to be honest. They're quite a complicated power circuit. I've done, again, it's all on, if you go on retro6.wiki, there's a load of articles on how you can repair them. It's a complicated power circuit, and majority of failures on the Lynx are the power circuit to start with. It's also messy to get the cages off. It's definitely not a starter-friendly system. If you really want to, just go on retro6.wiki, read all the articles for the Atari Lynx, familiarise yourself with it a bit, and just be careful inside because there's 400 volts on the original screen as well. Right. Because this is just going to be a photo, I'm just going to clean this area up a tiny bit. Right, so that will be the image right there for, oh, not yet. So right, that'll be the image on the wiki. That's showing where to solder the wires to, basically. So, like that. And again, I'm working here central, and I know I say this every single stream, but I'm going to nudge this over on the vertical again to go like here, because I don't know whether they just sit different every day and the vertical stream is slightly different than the horizontal for position. So we've got that on. I'm now going to put some double-sided tape down and stick the clean power over the top of that. And I think this is nearly bigger than the actual clean power. So there's the little baby clean power. And this is good for up to an amp at 5 volts, and it doesn't draw anywhere near that, so we're safe. And this is a long established power board I've made for I bet close to 6 years now. I bet this has been out. Never, pretty much ever see, well, I don't think I have, don't think we've ever had returns or issues with these boards because they're so simple. It's basically a off-the-shelf switch mode power supply, basically switch mode power supply IC. It can boost and buck the voltage, which means it can increase and lower the input voltage from 2 volts up to 12 volts. Very useful chip. This design is done accurately, obviously, for the layout, so we just know this is a very good and stable universal 5 volt power regulator, basically, that doesn't generate heat either. So unlike an LDO, this, which stands for just linear dropout regulator, which basically dumps the excess voltage from 9 volts to 5 volts just as pure heat. That's why, like on the SNES, you see the massive heat sink. If we put an LDO on, it would just generate a ton of heat, dropping 9 volts to 5 volts. Whereas with this now, you'll generate basically no heat. So let's see where we want this. I think we want to have, I mean, you could hang it over there and tack it in place with that solder pad, but then you've got this hanging over, so the only reason we've got the wire is to bring it just in line like that. So I think there maybe. We could bring it over here. We could bring it right the way over here, but you're going to see 2 wires then. Although the input wire is going right there, so you wouldn't necessarily see it. I think there between the 2 edges of the caps looks okay, but then you're going to see a little wire. Whereas there you're going to kind of hide all the wires, so let's go over here and position. That wire needs turning around then, actually, ideally. Let's flip him. It doesn't matter for another picture, it's just purely for aesthetics of hiding this wire as best we can. Sure, I've bent these tweezers. No, they're fine. Right, so that wire points that way to ground. This can stick over the top then, and that can go there. So that's where I'm going to stick it. It's already stuck down, and now we can solder the wires in. So this wire will go nicely there, and you're literally not even going to really see it. I'll leave it floating a minute. It'll probably end up coming off the cap doing this because the heat for melting this insulation is going to be hot enough to ping it off that cap. So I can see this coming off. I should probably pre-strip this wire before I did this. Come on, wire melt. Just trying to burn off the insulation off the wire, basically. There we go. Managed to do that without it actually coming off the capacitor. I expected the capacitor side to warm up that much it was going to fall off. And then we can put a tiny bit of flux on to make that connection clean. There we go, so nice solder blob. We are nicely in there. We'll clean up the flux as we go so it doesn't dry on. Now the input wants to be this wire here. Done with that double-sided tape now. So the input can come around, and again we can be completely discreet if we bend it under and it comes up there, so you don't even see that wire. So this is going to be a completely stealth install. I'm going to cut the top off this time so the wire's not as long, and I should be able to then get the end to strip a bit easier. I don't know whether that's, yeah, it's fully zoomed in, but let me kind of show you the what we're trying to do at the end of this wire. Just try to get solder on the tip of the iron to form a ball to sit over the edge. Oh, you can't really see it, it's done it already, but you basically try to keep the iron over the edge like that for as long as you can to melt the insulation on the wire. Okay, but that is, yep, that's fully on. So if I zoom out a bit and show you, where are we? So down here, well, you can see best that way. So there's the wire, kind of hooked down. You can see that's gone under, and then nicely onto the pad. So we know that's hooked onto there nicely. The ground's hooked on nicely to that cap. So the last one is basically the output, which is this top little pad here, so that can be nice and discreet as well. We can just go up to the corner and tack up there. So you're going to see no wires here. It's going to be a really nice install. So cut that to size. Strip down the tip of that wire again. So solder on the edge of the iron. Yeah, tiny blob of flux, and then we'll get this wire in position underneath now. Bend it up. I'll probably solder it on and push the edge of the wire under maybe. There we go. So, extra work for the stealthiness. The only bit of wire we can really see is this tiny bit of red here on the ground to the cap. That's like the only hint of it not technically fitting perfect is there. And now we should be able to power this up. What we're building is a PC Engine GT for a customer. We've been on it on and off for like literally 14 hours. So it's this rare-ish handheld PC Engine. We're trying to bring it up. We've just applied 6 volts to the input and we were getting 6 volts on the output, so the power circuit was dead. So we've just replaced it with a clean power. So now we can try to power up again with the 6 volts and see if we get 5 volts output this time. Easiest console to work on, Game Boys. By far. Start on Game Boys, they're cheap, they're easy. You can work on them, there's plenty of people on our Discord, discord.gg/retro6, that can help. I'm on there as well, so and I'm on there fairly actively. Right, so bench power. Arduino processor, I can do, not really just on this stream though that we're doing for the repairs, but if you go on the Discord and ask any questions, I'm sure I can answer some. Right, so on the input we've still got 6 volts, so that's still pulling the same amount of power. If we rest that in there, check we've got 6 volts here, which we have, and now, touch on, and now hopefully on the output, so what we're doing now is measuring the output of the clean power here. We should have the 5 volts now. There we go, 5 volts. So now I can safely rank up the input voltage. I'll go to 7 volts, let's do it in steps. So 7 volts, check the output, still 5. If I could get the probe on the very small tip, there we go, yep, so still 5. So now we're safe to do 9 volts, and this is the battery's voltage, so this is now acting like there's a full battery connected, and there's 5 volts. So this is now ready to bring up. This is the moment we've all been waiting for, really. We want to try and turn this console on. And let's hope that that was the only issue since the transplant. Is I've always wanted to put a little baby LED on this as well, so we know when it's turned on. Shall we do that? Or do you think that's going to make it messy? So I was just thinking, like, if you're going to, mainly for debugging, I guess, it's more for people like me that want to, if you turn it on and off, see something. Wow, that original power switch is a bit gunky, to be honest. There, I think that's just a bit of, probably had a bit of flux or gunk inside there. Oh, Rusty does have Halloween costumes. Yeah, we haven't actually got him one. We're going to go today. Where are we going to go? Wheel Lock Farm. I don't think they'll sell pug costumes though, but we're going to get some pumpkins. But I'll show you a picture of him in some... I'm going to type pumpkin and see if Rusty comes up. Oh, he does well. One when he was a baby pup, because it thinks an orange ball behind was actually a pumpkin. Not that, so if I go to Rusty and go to basically this time, oh well, Google's not very good at showing dates. I'd have to scroll all the photos. It comes up loads. I should be able to find it fairly easy. Favourites, I bet he's in favourites. Oh, that's the problem. Every photo on my phone that's a favourite is Rusty anyway. So pretty much I'll have to scroll through. I've got that many favourites that pretty much every photo of Rusty's a favourite. See if I can... Pug lovers might like this, other people will laugh their head off. Roll Rusty over and he just lies there, just chilling. Just knocks out. That's in this room, bringing treats. Look at all the treats that gets paid out for. So yeah, let me see if I can find the Halloween ones. I'm sure I will, because it's one of my favourite ones in a full pumpkin suit. Nothing like a Rusty distraction. Totally distracted now by looking at Rusty. Definitely an LED. Yeah, I'll probably put a really discreet LED somewhere, just for our reference, so we've got it. Ah, there he is, nicking Christmas presents off the top. He's like, I'll have these, please. Yeah, they're mine. If you've come for repairs, I'm sorry, you'll also get regular pug videos. There he is. He's good at opening presents as well. He sniffs out which it is, because he smells like the treats inside. So he's on the sofa there, figuring out where his are. He's like, nope, not that one. Oh, we're getting closer. That is Christmas pudding. He's got a Christmas pudding outfit on. So this is the suit era. We haven't put a suit on him for a little while. But I've got a feeling I'm going to find the pumpkin one in a minute. It's worth the wait, trust me. Well, that's when I hoarded a few Game Boys. I've pretty much got that amount in all the time though. Oh, there's one of the old cars. That's a nice one. Nice little sunset picture. That's this room, funnily enough. That's when I was doing I think I was doing the software bids in here originally, before I was doing the retro. So many good pictures of him. Thing is, it pops up as well. So often that picture pops up with him in the pumpkin suit. And then when you want to find it, I don't think we're going to actually get the pumpkin. Let's just go to the dates then. Go to October. Should be nice and quick going to each October. Ah, there's the store as well we used to have. For those that are interested, this was the store in Milton we used to have. Had all the walls painted as well. Had all the it was an absolutely awesome looking store, but I mean, we had like a little Zelda Minish Camp kind of painting there, but we just never really got anybody in locally because it's Milton, it's a small town. Oh yeah, search for costume. I can do that. I'm in the Octobers. I can scroll to Octobers pretty quick, so I'm just gonna jump to a couple of Octobers. And I think it was at Center Parcs, probably, when he was in his suit. There we go, there's one. He's got a full pumpkin suit hat, but trick 4 treat he's got on his back. And obviously he's already getting paid out. That's literally his first goal of the day. But yeah, look how slender he was. He's like I say, he's not actually as big as he looks now. He's mainly skin now. He's like, come on, pay me out. I mean, in fairness, that suit doesn't really fit, but yeah. He's like, what are you looking at? Give me food. Yeah, he's not very impressed. He wears them, but all he wants is the food. Gonna favourite that one. Yeah, right, that was a big pug distraction. What were we even doing? LED. Yeah, so I was going to say, when we turn on and off, we could do 2 LEDs. We don't need to, but if this ever goes wrong for the customer in future, we could have like an LED by the power switch. So when you're turning the power on, or you're getting battery voltage, and you could have a power on the output of this that also shows if this is powered up. Maybe we'll swing back to that though, because we don't even know if this works yet. We want to at least try and get this working. So now we've got the regulation, all we need to do is plug in the game, really, and this should work. So let's go for it, basically. Let's plug now the removable game cartridge slot in, which is cool because then if you did, well, if I did sell these and somehow maybe be able to make this connector as well, I could actually make this connector and make it an auto switching front board as well. Then you can just, if you suspect this is faulty, you can just unplug and swap it out. Right, games. This one I know makes audio straight away, this dodgeball game. So I know as soon as you turn this on, you hear a guy like going, ho ho, doing some kind of weird noise. So you'll hear that noise in a minute, it won't sound anything like that. But let's try this one first. And let's put the speaker in. I don't know which way the power switch is on or off, I can't remember. I think that one's off, so let's leave it off while we power up. So ground on there, 9 volts on the input. And then here we go, 14 hours of work. Do we get something? Oh. So close. Or is volume up or down? I don't know which one volume is, up or down. Right, that's up. Hang on. We've got this in the wrong way. There's still hope. The game goes this way around. Still not in good. Jeez. Can't get this thing in. I think that's in. I think it's just an optical illusion, it doesn't look in. Right then, let's try again. There we go. And you're just going on and off multiple times at work. Ah, I think it's this wheel. This is the original volume wheel, and listen at the crackliness. So, I think it was probably booting every time and we just can't hear it. Or that sounds like it's failed. Let's try again. That could have just been me pushing the board around and stuff, like doing this. So let's try and clean that wheel. Yeah, so the game's definitely loading, which is a good sign. Yeah, it doesn't like being dragged around, so that's probably this being pulled and dragged, and you know, you don't want to be moving this. So let's just clean this original volume wheel. The way you clean that is you soak it in IPA, you push down firmly on the wheel and spin, like not too firmly, but firmly enough that when you're moving the wheel, it's basically rubbing the inside wiper arm against the carbon. This doesn't always work, but then, like I say, this is actually a wheel that we don't have any replacements for, and I've never found any yet. I've hunted everywhere with every factory, and I cannot find this version of wheel. And the main reason is, see this thick line here? So this is a shared pin with two wiper blades inside here, and then they go over here, and the two outputs are the ones. So 3 is the combined, 1 is the 2 full 10k pots coming over, and the 2s are the wiper blades. But all new wheels, everywhere you go, they flipped this logic around, so this shared pin is over this side. The closest thing you can get is the Game Boy Color scroll wheel is exactly the same, that's what I figured out, but it's still flipped, so we could use a Game Boy Color wheel on this, but you'd have to leave the pins floating in the air. The middle pin can stay, but this pin would have to be soldered here, and this pin would have to be soldered here. You'd have to like cross wire the 4 pins so they all flip around. So let's see now if that cleaning's helped at all. There we go, so we've got a much smoother gradient of the audio. Still a bit crackly at the bottom end there, but the volume does go up and down smoothly. Doesn't go all the way off. When you get to the bottom it overspins, so you can't turn the volume all the way off with this, and that's like the lowest it goes. Yes, that's almost as good as off. So I'm sure the customer will be happy with that. So we have now a, believe it or not, fully working PC Engine GT. We need to now put the screen on. So the screen, I think the screen's got to be all fit in the shell, but what I'll do is just, let's run an Amiga, let me move that out of the way. This Amiga that I'm constantly trying to get onto. So is that. In fact, where have I put the screen? Is it in here? There we go. So this one, I'm going to move that 9 volts well out of the way. We don't want to touch that by mistake. Get some blue mat. Put this down. And then we'll leave the screen covered up and well out the way of anything at the minute. The wire they give us with the kits I'm not going to use. We'll use the enamelled wire. And all we have to do is wire in some pins off this. This is the easy part, so let's disconnect the game slot, get that out of the way. We'll leave the jumper wires on at the minute. So on this side of the board, this is where the original screen plugs in. We're going to tap off the RGB signals here. There's also then a pin on the back here we need to bridge. That bypasses, well, that tells the original circuit that the screen's plugged in, so it all works and it passes power through correctly. So all we want to do is what I do is put long flying leads on, like, you know, this long kind of thing, as long as the whole width of the scene, if you will. And then when I come to fit this in the actual shell, I've got plenty of movement room while I fix everything in. So we just need a bunch of flying leads on here first. What we will need, I've wrote a guide as usual on retro6.wiki if you want to follow this. We have CN201 is the main place we want to attach stuff. So down here, CN201, the outer pin, so the first pin is 5 volts, which we have to bridge from somewhere else. Then it's green, red, blue, and then the far end one is ground. So you've got basically 5 volts, green, red, blue, ground we need to tap off. That's the missus waking up. Why is she waking up this early? Needs to stay in bed. And then as well as red, green, blue and ground, we need C-Sync. Now C-Sync comes off the 6 to 60, and it's the 4th pin up. So if we flip the board over, you've got the 6 to 60 here. The 4th pin up on here is the C-Sync. Now that 4th pin, if you again go on the Retro6 wiki and go on the scans of this board, it comes down here and goes to somewhere through here basically. I can't remember where. It goes to one of these D-pads or a VIA. But we can just tap off the 6260 instead if we wanted to. Yeah, I've done a photo on the wiki. An alternative point on the same side of the board, actually that's better, is the top of R202 or C200. So on my wiki I've actually wrote, if you want to keep all the wires close to here, there's apparently there. So the top of these two here is C-Sync. So we can go 5 volt, red, green, blue, ground, C-Sync. And that's all the pins we then need. Sorry, green, red, blue, not red, green, blue. And then the only other thing we need to do is on the back Q507, luckily the one that's faulty, we'd bypass anyway, we need to solder a wire from here to here. So we might as well do that bridge now before we forget. Let me just add a bit of flux and a wire. Yeah, I think once you use the enamelled wire, you don't want to go back. It's just strong enough, but also thin enough, and I think it looks neater than thick plasticky wire. I wish, like you said, they did enamel in a few different colours though, because you can only really get enamel in clear, so you just see the copper, or red. I think they're the only two colours I've seen. If you see any others, definitely drop me a link, because I'd buy a few colours. It'd be nice to have that little bit of variety in the colours. What temp do I solder at? 480 Celsius on the hot air. My soldering iron I solder at 390. I used to solder at 420 on the iron, but the tips burn out quicker. Like the lifespan of the tips gets a bit worn, so I basically solder on the hot end of what most people would. But obviously the heat doesn't matter, it's more the technique. If you turn the iron down, then it would take longer to do, basically. So that's that bridge. That will enable 5 volts to come in on this connector, basically, which is where we're tapping off. So let's now attach all the wires to here. So we just need a bunch of flying enamelled wire. So we need the first 4 over on the right side and 1 ground on the left side, and we need 1 tacking off here as well. So let's try. I don't know whether it's nicer for me to work with the microscope, but I think for you guys it's not quite as, I don't feel it's quite as sharp as the overhead camera, but it gives me depth perception that is much handier for soldering neatly. So I'm going to do this one under the actual scope, and then I can actually see what I'm doing, make a better job of this. I'll probably actually go from the left to right because that just works for me better. So rest the wire against the ground. There's one tacked on. Keep this nice and long. Can always cut them shorter, so I'm going to keep them nice and long instead for now. And then strip the end and work away down. Celsius or Fahrenheit, you're soldering at 480 degrees Celsius is crazy. But if you're Fahrenheit, then it's, I don't even know the conversion off the top of my head. But I'm not sure. But yeah, 390 Celsius is where I solder at. Right, so I wanted 1, 2, 3, 4. So fourth is here. It's tacked on nicely. We can keep the wires all the same length because all the way through this install process we can actually see the wires, so we don't need to like cut them different lengths this time. To remember which ones they are, you've always got visibility of the wires during this install. Thanks for the sub. I had some pink and dark green. Nice, actually. I'm going to try and find them. I'll have a look around. I could just ask my factory as well, to be honest. My actual, one of my main factories in China I work with. See if they can source me some. Yeah. Yeah, and this is much easier using a microscope, so I can actually see the height and position of the wires. So I could do it using that normal overhead cam, but I definitely think this has got a bit more, for me at least, it's a bit easier for the depth perception actually, soldering the way you normally would if you weren't on stream. Which is crazy to think this is a microscope view, and yet I've got an overhead camera above me that was zoomed in like a normal, camera out the way. I know it's not normal, it's expensive, but the fact that the normal camera can get footage almost as clear and sharp as an actual microscope with a camera baked into the optics. That's how good that overhead cam is. So we got them, and now we want the this one here, and this is the C-Sync. So your red, green and blue are obviously the colours on screen, and the C-Sync is a combined, that's why it's called C. It's a combined sync of both horizontal and vertical signals that tell the receiver when you're at the end of a line and you need to move to the next line, like on a CRT, or you're at the end of the full frame, like the entire screen's been drawn and you need to start a new frame. So normally you'd have V-Sync for vertical sync that tells something when you're at the end of the whole image, you want the next frame, and then you'd have a H-sync same when you're at the end of each line. A C-sync is a single pin that combines them two into basically long and short pulses, not like Morse code, but you know, long and short pulses for telling it when to go to new lines and new frames. Let's just see if I can get this flux out with some new random chemical from China that I'm not sure whether it's safe or not, so I don't really want to touch it yet. But this is some stuff I've grabbed for removing, ideally, that really harsh orange flux there. So I've got no safety sheets on it, no data sheets, got no idea if I should be wearing gloves, masks, if I can lick it. I've got not a clue. What I do know though is when I tested it yesterday, it's like a miracle liquid that just removes that yellow, like with no force at all. So see if I can get it on here. And look, the yellow's just disappearing. Of course I'm doing this pushing it to actually soak into there, but you can see the yellow at the edge is completely gone. Rolling that around, just getting rid of it, great, with no heat and no pressure. So that cleans it off. The only problem is I've got no idea what it is. So I'll ask, again, the factories I work with, native speakers, and I'll send them a photo of this and say, like, have you got a health and safety sheet for it, and is it generally safe to work with? But I've got no idea what it is. So I haven't touched any with my fingers yet. There's no warnings on it, but that doesn't mean anything. So if anyone's ever used stuff like that, it just literally says water for cleaning PCBs, but it certainly isn't water. But it does definitely clean the PCB. Right, so where are we at now? We've got to solder these other ends now to the actual screen kit, and then this can be powered on. Oh, we didn't cut that wire. This can be powered on, and we should see the actual game loading then. No, it definitely isn't IPA. I've got IPA, and that smells funky. Like not funky, but it smells chemically. Obviously, we've got the IPA here, so it's something else. Google Translate, yes, but the text is that small. Whether it's going to read that is another story, and whether we trust what it says. I'd prefer to trust my actual factories who I work with in China to tell me the truth as well, because the labels might just lie to you. They might tell you that, yeah, don't use that, or don't touch it, or something else. See what Google Lens says. Brand, product name, board cleaner, CDX01. So it's telling us nothing. Shelf life 2 years. Main ingredients: isopropyl, isopropanol, which isn't IPA. That's isopropyl alcohol. So isopropanol. ANHY anhydrous, basically. Diethylene glycol. Triglycoethylene. Other main components. And that's it. How to use. Wow, that's small. Ultrasonic cleaning. Pour into an ultrasonic cleaner. Place the PCB in. Workspace. Inside. Turn on ultrasonic cleaner. And then let dry for 10 minutes. Immersion cleaning. Pour the fluid onto the PCB. Scrub it. Wipe it off. Things to note. May kill you. No, it doesn't say that. This is a special solvent for cleaning PCBs. Before use, especially in bulk, please contact your pre-production. Please do a pre-production test, and contact with. Oh no, it's disappeared. The writing's that small I can barely see it when it translates. It is not suitable. Wow, why is it so small? Can it take a photo of that? Or can I zoom in? It translates it that small, that on screen it's that small to read. I can't even read the thing. Let's try again. Pre-production testing is required for any bulk job. Avoid fire in high temps before use. Working environment must be well ventilated. Wear protective clothing and gloves during use to avoid prolonged inhalation to steam. So kind of the general warnings for most chemicals. Not like it's going to burn your finger off or melt, but generally don't touch it or breathe it in. But I'll still send that photo to the factories and like tell them, can they tell me what the general safety precaution is, and I can do a bit more research. But I guess glove up if I'm going to use that, and maybe even mask up just to be sure, because it's only when I get really stubborn yellow flux that I use it anyway. I've only used it twice now, but it just gets rid of that dark yellow inside very well. You just literally wipe it on, so this yellow here, this would be hard and crusty, but you can scrape it off, or you can heat the board up and scrub with IPA. But if you don't want to apply any heat, this liquid stuff just literally wipes on and wipes off the gunk. It's amazing for what it does. It's obviously what they use when they've soldered stuff in a factory. This is the fluid that the factories use to clean off the boards before they send them to you. Right, let's just strip the other ends of these wires now. So, I can move that. Oh, actually, we'll keep that on. Just looks a bit ugly. Big blue mat. Right, so strip the ends of these wires. Yeah, this fan definitely works well for just being able to place it close to where you're working nice and conveniently. And I know it's not technically filtering the smoke, but it's blowing it well out of my way. And then I've got the humidifier and whatever it does to oxygenate the air behind me, and that clears the particles in the air. So I think this is works pretty well as a general air filtration setup. I think the biggest thing we saw in this room was putting that the air purifier in. It really helps. It kicks in. You'll hear it kicking in the background on and off, and it kicks in literally once you've soldered and stuff's in the air. You hear it kick in. It tells you the percentage of particles in the air of different sizes, and it definitely keeps the air fresh in here. That's all the ends stripped, and that noise behind me now is that air purifier, which is it's quite cool. I don't think we've got any customers' details behind us. We swing this around. So this thing works ace. Shark. You can see there 65% air quality, and that's because we've just been soldering. So that'll now be removing all that smoke and particles out the air, and it apparently oxygenates the air as well. And it's got a nice little smelly filter thing on top, so that keeps the room, the air smelling nice as well, which I think it does do. So yeah, if you're working in an enclosed room, I'd definitely recommend one of them. Works really well for us. We've noticeably felt the difference in the room with that air quality. It's not just like a gimmick by the looks of it. Right, so we have this board now, which is the pins here we need to solder to. So we've got 5V and ground at the top, another ground here, so you can go to any of them, another ground here. So I tend to do ground, C-Sync, the RGB, and then the 5V up at the top. So we'll just pre-tin these. And we'll now get the board. We'll pull in 5V, which is, just straighten this out, C-Sync is over there. Ground, well, I'll tell you what, I've got ground, let's put ground on first. Oh, and of course I somehow haven't stripped ground. So So stripped all them wires, and then the first one I grab hasn't been stripped. Now it has. I think it just doesn't have enough solder on. I'm thinking it's not stripped, I think it just needs more solder. There we go. C-Sync next, which is this one on its own. Yeah, these pads make it look ugly. You don't want to sit inside. Well, there we go. B is next. So if we remember, because this is where I get confused sometimes, the order is green, red, blue from the opposite side. So blue will be the furthest one over. This will be this one. And then red is technically the next one, so green is the second one, basically the one in the middle. So this one will be green. And then we have 2 left. This one is going to be the red. And finally we've got 1 wire left here, it's at the end, so this is the 5 volt. And that's it. So that should now be plug in and ready to go. Yeah, we do normally have the we've got a door right by me out to the back that I normally have open, but the thing is it's quite cold at the minute in mornings, so I don't know if I can see it on camera. See that door there, out to some nice real life outside, so we normally open that, but to be honest, this filter thing, like I say, works great. It's down to 51% air quality now while it works away. Right, so I think we're good to test this. Morning, welcome in. We're just finishing off this PC Engine G2. We've got everything working now, which is good. Loads of games, got game audio, and we are just going to see if this screen now works. And then this is fully done, just needs to be screwed back together in the shell and built up, basically, if so. So let's move this mat out of the way. I like these as well. These are definitely helping keep this clean, and then at the end I can spray this with IPA and wipe the desk, so saves a lot of use of all the towels, bamboo towels and stuff I'm using. These cables then are nice and long, so when we come to work on this, I can fit this all in the shell, and then I can either, once it's in the shell, shorten these off, but what I normally do is just keep them together and just bunch them up in a nice neat little circle, so that it's like a natural extension wire, if you will, and then close it in the shell and it's all insulated. So for being able to work on it then, it's better, and when it's in the shell, you don't see the wires anyway. Obviously the best solution would be a flex ribbon, but this isn't a product we've designed, this is just an off-the-shelf RGB board. It's something people keep asking for. They want us to make the screen for the PC Engine GT. It's just not that popular, so in terms of priority it's very low for us. Right, so we have a game in there, we have this board on here, and now if we bring in that screen we kept out of the way, Right, we can lift up, screen goes in this way. Ooh, thanks for the sub, Mike. Right, this goes in there. So now we probably want to turn the screen around this way just so we can see it in the right orientation. So there we go. Do that maybe. And then this is it. This is hopefully the final result. And a working, I'm going to say I hope, a fully working PC Engine GT, which means we've taken this from completely not working, dead in every way, no audio, no power, no video, to, fingers crossed, a fully working PC Engine GT. So here we go.
Hello.
Yes, there we go. Well, I'll say there we go. Looks like it's got VDP issues. It's not far off. Graphics aren't perfect though. So, very close. I'm wondering whether this is going to be... it looks like, to me, we could have a faulty screen. I think I've got a spare one. But it looks like video RAM issues, potentially, which we could then swap video RAM as replaceable. But if we look at the screen so you can see, it's like... I mean, it could also be the game, maybe. Let me... Ah, yeah, if I'm moving the game in this cartridge, it dies. It might be as simple as this game cartridge slot is not good. So let's try IPA, in and out the game slot a few times, turn on. No, so you see you've still got this corruption. So there's something wrong on either this board or could be video RAM on the actual PC Engine. So I'm just going to warm up some of the RAM chips, see if we get any change in behaviour. And we don't really on that side. Flip it over, turn it on and off. Let's try this side. Yeah, I think that game connector slot is not the best. That's the one that was quite weak as well, because that seems intermittent. Now we've flipped it over. Yeah, so see, it's stopped with the loading. Let's remove and reinsert the game. Yeah, so we're just moving that around really as a stop that working. Let's take the power off, power on. No, so I think the only thing that really isn't pretty much new is this cartridge connector. And the fact when we moved it, it kind of stopped working as a hint maybe this isn't the best cartridge connector. Yep, no noise on there. Let's try another game. It might well be this, board connector here. That isn't good, but we've seen it kicking in the once, so well, let's try and bypass the regulator and go straight to 5 volts on the bench, so we can bypass the clean power in case the clean power is not working the way we hoped it did. I've never put that clean power on before, so this will be the output. No, so it isn't anything to do with the clean power. Oh, there you go, that's powered up now. But yeah, the graphics are glitchy. So it's got, I think it's got a weak, I think one of these is quite bad. I think we need to make or replace one of these for the customer, because this is clearly, it's just got to be the cartridge connector. The only thing there was moving the board and flexing it around. It makes it, work or not work. But the good sign is the overall system looks like it's working, and we're dealing with fairly minor issues. So if I push down on this ribbon, say, yeah, so it's definitely this connector here, so this part, because if you leave it where it is, you get different things happening. If you push down, so we've got different behaviour. So I think it's going to be the game cartridge connector is my suspicion, because all the components are tested well, so we're unlikely dealing with component failure in terms of the fact we've seen the game load a few times. Yeah, it's definitely got a dodgy thing, but if you bend this, is that what I got it loaded as? Sure, when I bent this one way, it's successfully loaded. No. We are fixing a PC Engine GT. We've got it booting now. We've got audio, the game was fully booting. We've got a screen mod, but it's now intermittently, well, mostly now not booting. Yeah, it's like failing to boot more times than not. But I do suspect this game slot, basically. So I'd probably have to use, I think I've got spares of these, I'd have to convert another one with a connector on so we can swap that out and see if that's the only issue. I've got a feeling though, after that there's going to be RAM issues as well, I think the RAM, but we can't really get a consistent successful boot out of this now. See, so there, we've got it booting again. But you can see the screen, this is the issue we have with the screen. The screen's like glitchy in different ways. So I'm gonna, I'm forgetting I've got a volume wheel. I'm gonna suspect this RAM here, basically. Which I can swap out, I'd have to find some spares, but that to me looks like video RAM issue, basically. And the fact it's intermittently booted, it might be the work RAM. Just try warming that up. And basically sometimes warming certain chips up will give you a hint at where the problem is, because as you warm them up you'll usually see changes on screen. So warming the 6280 up caused it to stop, and that wasn't much heat either, that was just at the start. So I reckon maybe it could be this chip bad, so you get an intermittent boot from it. Let's just inspect that chip in case there's anything we've missed, but we have kind of inspected this heavily when we were doing this work, and we've also paid attention to every single component, so still worth a double check that we could always miss. No, those pins are all fine. Obviously every single one of these we kind of looked at under the scope. All them are solid. What it could also be is, these are very common resistor packs that fail. We have measured every single pin though, but maybe under load, these are slightly corrupting, so it doesn't load the video. It doesn't load like the game. But let's see if, now it's cooled, we get, do we get the boot again? Yes, so without touching anything, well, let's move it over so we can move it so you can see it. Let's try and warm that same chip up and see if it crashes at that area. I think it's already crashed, to be honest. Yeah, so just literally moving this and touching this. Well, actually, instead of heat, to start with, I do think it's this, because we just barely dragged it and it's crashed. Yeah, I think it's just the obvious thing, it's this. Yeah, right, I'd almost definitely say this connector. Yeah, I'm going to guess that. Let me see if I've got one. It won't be that hard to swap. No, so I don't have a spare. I could have sworn I did have a spare one of these. Maybe we've used it for a customer. But I do have my bag of. Well, say it's my bag. I think it's yeah, I think it's off one of these strips. So we have got a few spare parts. If it isn't that connector and it is something like a bad RAM, then maybe just swapping out the RAM is a cause of the intermittent boot. So we have, let's have a look what chips we've got on here. Oh yeah, the chair. So many people see that. They'll either get people saying cool doom chair or what a mood chair. We are fixing a PC Engine GT at the minute. We've had it up and running, kind of, but we've got graphics glitches and mostly just intermittent boot behaviour. So see, that's loaded this time. Now the perfect test here would be if I can turn the volume up without crashing the game. Right, so while we have it booted, what I want to try and do to try and prove where the issue might lie is I want to hold the board still, completely still, and then let's wiggle this. So that doesn't... No, there's no way it's that connector. Not a chance it's that connector. This is testing for solder, basically, as well. Any problems with solder, so it's not that. So are we just dealing with it? This might well be actually one of the chips failing. So it's just intermittently booting because it's basically one of these chips is bad. As we saw at the start, the power regulation circuit wasn't working, so that means the customer would at some point put 9 volts into this whole circuit. So maybe that's partially damaged one of the chips. So I think the likely cause is going to be one of the 3 main chips, the RAM, or if we flip it over, this will probably crash when you flip it over, even though it shouldn't really do it if it's a solder joint issue. Sorry, if it's a component failure issue. One of these RAMs. So I would suspect one of the RAMs is the cause of the issue. We could also just be dealing with, well no, I don't think it's going to be just this screen, because you can power this thing on and off and it stops working. But while it's running, I've got a spare screen. Why don't we try to just swap this screen? I mean, this is classic video RAM issue, so I don't think this screen kit would even be capable of displaying that level of corruption. It just wouldn't work. It's a very rare chance it would, but let's just plug in a spare screen to eliminate that. But like I say, I highly doubt that's going to be the issue. So, lift up, take out. And it's not ideal doing this on the fly like this, but there we go, the same corruption. So it's not the screen kit. We've got things wired up correctly as well. That is definitely a corruption on I think some of the RAM. But if we now power cycle, let's see if keeping everything in this exact position and power cycling, this will eliminate. Yes, that powers on and off. Maybe sometimes, like I say, once it's cool, it boots consistently like this. But that we've definitely got some kind of yeah, we literally can't get this. Let's move it all around again, move things over, boot again. So I don't know, we're getting consistent boot now, but there's still graphics glitches. So this will be something else altogether, but this is where I don't know, I can't remember whether this is the order where I said the customer didn't actually pay for any diagnostics, they just sent it in or not, or whether they paid to have it diagnosed further than this. Let me just quickly look at the sheet. I've done that much work on it, I couldn't tell you. Yeah, he's not paid for any diagnostics at all on this, just put system works. So technically, even though they've spent a lot of money so far, and they've paid for the screen work and the transplant and stuff like that, they haven't paid for diagnostics as such. So there's only so far we can really go before we'd have to consider diagnostics being charged. So let's just do a couple of quick chip swaps with luckily what I've got on hand at the minute, and let's go from there. But I do think that's, you know, it's likely going to be a video RAM or a main IC. We've got all the chips, so we can fix it, but let's just swap the ones I've got on hand. I think I've got all the major chips here, like literally all of them, so let's start with 2264. So I'm looking for 2264. There, I think that one. So yep, let's swap him out. Let's just put a green dot on mine, because this has come off like the chips I've got are coming off working, like a working PC Engine GT one of mine that I've gutted for using the board. So this was a completely fully working one. The chips of, you know, the chips I'm going to put on now are from a completely fully working system. So we know the chips I'm going to put on are working. So let's just take this one off and put this one on. And then we've also got the visual on this stream that I can screenshot. If others have issues with that exact visual and then we find out what it is, we can pinpoint, you know, the chip that's the problem. So this one's going on. And bear in mind, this has also already had a new power circuit put on, which again the customer hasn't actually paid for as such. So it's already had quite a bit of diagnostics and parts added so far, but ideally we want to get this fully working for the customer, so at least we know where we stand, that, you know, they don't want to do all this work and it be a pointless console. You know, we've really got to get it working realistically. It's not something I'd really leave in a non-working state, even just for my own sanity. I wouldn't come this far and then not want to see this fully working, so we'll figure out what the ultimate cause is, but I think we're pretty much down to components. There's no way, and like these main components, all the resistors and caps and transistors and everything we've checked, because we've done the component testing on them, so we know they're all good. They've effectively had a nice sanity check before we put them on the board. So, oh, I've knocked that cap as well. I need to just move him back on. So that's the, I don't know what RAM it is, basically. This is it doesn't have a schematic for this yet. IC703. Let me look on my RePCB to what it's wired to. Might give us a hint at which one we've just swapped. The white block is a magic sponge, basically a melamine sponge. IC703. This is connecting to, well, it's connecting to the data rail. The address bars, chips, I think this is work RAM, to be honest, looking at what it's connected to. It basically connects to IC700 on the back for controlling when it's enabled. The other two RAMs are going to IC701, so the Hue 6270. Let me see what the 6270 is, because that's the other two RAM chips. Yeah, the VDP. So it's what it looks like we've got is this chip. Let me zoom out a bit. This chip and this chip are video RAM going to here, and this is the VDP, like the Game Gear. The 6260, not sure. I think the 6280 is the processor, and then on the back, this is the RAM to it. So we've got the work RAM we've just replaced, and the processor. Hey, morning, welcome in. And then we have obviously VDP and video RAM. So the issue is likely going to be up here, the ones we haven't swapped yet. But we can still try with this one. Yeah, the chips are, I believe they are all the same as the PC Engine, yeah. So you can also rob them off much cheaper PC Engines. But I have all the chips off are working. This is the chips off the PC Engine GT that I actually stripped in order to make this board. And it was a fully working PC Engine GT because I had to make sure I was stripping a board that fully worked and we weren't going to introduce problems. So I know the chips I'm now putting on are fully working, which is a good thing. But I've got a feeling this one won't change anything, so let's just see. And then we're back to the random no boot again, which we go. What you could do with ideally getting one boot out of it before we move on, just to prove nothing else has changed. But then again, I know these chips work, and this is giving us the exact same visual issue we had on the other one. So it's unlikely that's going to be the cause. And to be honest, like I say, I'm putting on known working chips, so I don't really need to see it booting any different. It'd just be nice to see it. Just giving it a few healthy attempts to have a chance at working. It's just, well, I think we kind of eliminated that it was this because we did this while it was running. Moved everything all around and nothing crashed, so I don't think it would be this connector. funny thing is, last time, I'm sure when we sprayed IPA on, it was working on one of them. No, it's well, it could well be, but we're pretty sure all the components on this were good. We've had it booting several times. It's just that once it stops booting, it seems to stop booting. Like, you know, once it decides it's not going to boot, it seems to just sit there not booting for a while, and then out of the blue starts booting. So we're down to thinking it's basically one of the component failures. At the start of the stream, we identified that the power circuit wasn't working, so it was injecting the full 9 volts into the system. We didn't. We only injected the 5 and the 6 volts to test if the circuit was working, but it proved that before we've had it in, this will have had 9 volts on the chips. So that's what's also leading me to suspect, even though they can handle 9 volts for a short period, this might well be a chip failure that we're looking at. So I'm just seeing if I can at least just get this to boot once to before we move on to swapping the other chips. And the fact that nothing changes behaviour with IPA is another good indicator that if we had any bad connections or anything like that, then this wouldn't change. It just seems to be, I don't know, I am still kind of curious and suspicious of this, because if it's not a solder joint and it's never booting, well, let's get this chip would be my suspicion for boot then. If this is going to be VDP issues on PC Engine GTs as well, it's going to be mad. Let's try this one. Last time we warmed up this chip, it stopped it working. No, I don't think anything's given us any hints, so let's just swap then. I'm going to swap the VDP, because why not? Everything seems to be a VDP issue. So this is the 6270. You have to put these pins back in some kind of alignment because they're all over the show. Yeah, this one's going to be quite a bit of work to align back up. It's been in a bag since well over a year or two since I made this, so these legs need aligning up before we solder them on. Oh, that leg's bent completely under. Let's bring him back over. He's doing the splits. And I might just dry. No, I'll hot air it on first, but this is likely going to need some soldering as well. So I think now we'll put this VDP on. So again, mine I'm going to blob with the green, just because I know it come off a working system. And the customers I'm just keeping on the side at the minute. So let's get this one off. yeah, this one, at the start, it was justice for VDPs. At the start, we had it booting. We still had to turn it on and off a few times to get it boot the first time. So it's had this issue from the start, basically. If it's VDP, yeah. If it's anything like the Game Gear, the VDP has been known to stop game audio or allow game audio. More than likely, it allows game audio and just corrupts the graphics, but it can also completely stop game load. So the fact we're seeing kind of both, when it does load, it's got a VDP style issue for sure. And when it doesn't load, obviously, it can still be the VDP causing that, because it could just pull the system down or interfere with the address lines, for example. And we've obviously seen it firsthand on the Game Gear. So I'm making an assumption based on how we've seen the Game Gears behave with VDPs that yes, it can completely stop boot. But generally, if the game's loaded and you've got audio, the CPU is most likely okay. That's the most typical time when a CPU would be okay. It's not saying it is, but it's, you know, the likelihood is leading us down the usual avenue of failures, which is the VDPs, always, it seems to be. This is like it's catching in the corner and doesn't want to move up to there. Yeah, this is definitely catching on something. It does not want to. I might just have to drag solve this. I think because the legs are so bent, when I'm trying to nudge things into position, it doesn't want to move. There we go, managed to plonk it in position, finally. Yeah, the legs are just catching on the pins with them being slightly up or down bent. So now we're in a close enough position. If we can keep it in that position, I can warm it up, push it down, and get... Ow! Hot tweezers. Can get majority of these pins in place then. And then we'll still probably have to go down with the tweezers and the soldering iron to align the rest of these pins perfect. And the other thing we haven't checked is this on? Probably should have looked when I was doing this. Is this on the right way? I'm pretty sure it is. Probably just look up a PC Engine picture to make sure, PC Engine GT, that this was the orientation of the chip. But I'm pretty sure it was. Oh yeah, I think you forget the tweezers are getting hot when you're touching them. I had them in my other hand, went to turn the fan on and scalded my other hand. Pull up a picture of PC Engine GT PCB. Yeah, that chip's on the right way. All that lovely fire crackling sound is the IPA bubbling, by the way. We haven't got a fire going. Right, so let's check now the pins, and to be honest I probably need to do this under the microscope because we really need to inspect these pins with them being so bent. Oh, surprisingly clean. Oh yeah, I forgot you on the scope. Let me show you these. Hey, welcome in. Yeah, I'm actually surprised at this. This is soldered really well. God, this board's hot. I just touched that transformer next to it as well. That one pin is floating though. That one is. That one is. So yeah, looks clean, but looks good, but still needs soldering. We've got floaty legs, which is expected because, like I say, these pins are a bit all over the place. So to fix that, we just go down with the soldering iron and push down, basically. And that'll bond any legs that are floating in the air. It'll bond down, basically. So we might as well just do that on the whole chip, considering this one's come off mine and the pins have been a bit bent in the bag I've stored them in. Yeah, that is all them reflowed, so now it's got a known working VDP, and we have, let's put some of this stuff away that we don't need. We've got a known working game in, they can clear up out the way. We don't need this stuff. I'm going to get a new bag for my chips because that's a mess. Old 7805 we don't need, crystal will keep. Right, move these out of the way. Yeah, I'm clean. I have to tell myself that. Right, clean this board. Cool to the touch, like cool enough, doesn't burn me. So we have, keep that on there. They're still my chips that side. Let's see if we get game load, because we've obviously got completely inconsistent game load still. So at least if it ends up with chips off mine, we know chips are good. The speaker's probably turned off now, so same behaviour. Not something as simple as a fuse, maybe. Let's try bypassing it and putting 5 volts straight in again. Let's just do that check. I could do with finding a nice point on here that's 5 volts so we don't have to flip it over every time we want to test from this side. So 5 volts will be, oh, that's covered in flux underneath. It's all ran through and made a right sticky mess on the other side. Right, what were we doing? Oh yeah, I wanted to probe. Probe for the 5-volt output. I can't help but keep cleaning this board every time I'm seeing yellow on it. Now the flux is on it. My lovely white board is turning yellow. Let's rest that there. So there would be, we could do the gain to the other side, but can I hold it like that? There we go. Is the power switch not on? Power switch on. Surely these are 5-volt. I'll just check the schematic if not, but there's no way these aren't 5-volt. Right, okay, something's a bit dodgy here. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I'll have to check on the schematic. I'd expect 5 volts to be going into all these chips. This one's 5 volts, but none of these are. Like, none of them. That's a definite issue. No, I'm not measuring voltage at the minute, just continuity. The only continuity to the 5-volt output is literally the screen. So something simple. The board isn't getting power, the screen is. Let's have a look, because that's definitely not right. Maybe a blown fuse. So I will pull up my... This is good news, because this seems like it's a pretty simple thing then. Not a break on the screen so much, no. So we've got this screen mod taps off from power that's basically rigged by bridging Q507 so that this gets 5 volts, which then goes to the screen. So the IPS screen is receiving 5 volts because it's coming from a slightly different source, but the output from the 5 volts here on this, unless this is loose underneath, which I doubt it, doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Like, it might not be going where I'm probing. It just seems odd that everywhere I'm probing, that you typically expect all these major ICs, surely they need the 5 volts. So I'm just going to take a look at the actual board view and go the other side. So on here, this is mirrored on the other side, but this is where the power is 5 volts. So you can see this then, this big copper is 5 volts, comes down here, goes up. So for example, this cap here, I presume it's a cap of this resistor, so we can ignore that one. I can't remember how you delete the things, but leave that one on for now. Goes down here, through here, all the way down into this connector. So we've got 5 volts here, but more so, I'll tell you what, let's do the opposite. Surely this is a bulk capacitor, so I can do different colour. Let's go to red on here. This is the one I'm suspecting should have 5 volts. Goes through the board, goes through a transistor there, a resistor there, and then into the chip. So that, I presume, pin 41, 2, 3, 4, pin 45 on IC700 surely should have 5 volts. Pin 45, just looking at the pinout. No, pin 47 should be 5 volts. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so 45 will also be pulled up. So this should be 5 volts. So this red should be 5 volts. So let's see where it comes from. Goes into that big cap there, which is just for the 5 volt rail. Goes through here, into that chip, up there as we know, into the chip there, into the chip there. So it's got to come through. Hang on. Oh no, that cap isn't 5 volts, and this cap goes here, up to here, and into this pin. So it's actually pin. Where's the closest pin? 39, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 30, 29, 8, 7, 6, 5, 24, 3, 2, 1. So pin 20 is actually what we're getting. So that's ground. That doesn't make sense. Okay, let's go back to tracing this 5 volts, and I think it's easier to trace where this goes, because something's definitely off here. We're missing. We are definitely missing. I suppose the first thing would be, do we check fuses, because it's likely a blown fuse, but let's just follow where the 5 volt goes. Goes through here, down, and it goes to this resistor 503, which is basing and biasing this transistor. The transistor then enables power, I presume, to here. So I'll tell you what, instead of direct continuity, let's put power in and measure voltage as well, because I guess it doesn't matter if it's enabled through a bunch of transistors. Let's just see if we're actually getting power. That's an easier thing to do. So let's put voltage on. Ground as ground over there, and I'd say these should have 5 volts. Yeah, they got 2.3. So there's some other issue with the 5 volts. So I'll tell you what then, if this is, that's 5 volts over there, that's 5 volts there. This surely, this cap, I could be wrong, should be 5 volts. Let's get the pin out of, say, oh, we actually got one short up there. Got a little short there on the VDP, that won't be helping. I'll wait for this warm up. But yeah, these chips 100% should have 5 volts, so I can get the pin out for those chips and just measure 5 volts. But just looking at it, this would be a decoupling cap for this, so you'd almost definitely expect 5 volts on there basically. And we're getting 2.8. So I'm sure that shouldn't be the case. So let's find, well, I've already found it basically. I've already found the 6280 pin out. If I pull this up, Q6280, and I've already done the pin outs of these chips. Let's pull up a random one here. I've got a one myself. And pin 57 is 5 volts, pin 73 is 5 volts. Which chip we got? The 80, so this one. Pin 40, 41's there, 60, 65's there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 back from 65. 65 over to here, so 5 back from this side should be 5 volts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this pin should be 5 volts when we turn on. Oh, so we've got 5 volts there. So why is this 2.3? That's weird. Yeah, the 5 volt rails on this are bizarre. Because I would have expected this cap, I thought, was going to be a decoupling cap, and it's not. Let's just see. I'm more curious what that cap is now then, if it's not decoupling anything. Positive goes through. I think it's... Oh, I don't know. Where's it going? No idea for now. I don't think that's important though. The main thing is we've got the voltage there, so let's just check the other ones. I think we've just gone down a rabbit hole and it's not really a problem there. The 6270 should have 5 volts on... Is there 5 volts? Where? 72. So 72, so you've got 80, 79, 78, 77, 76, 75, 74, 73, 72. Yep, that's got 5 volts. So the chips are getting power. It's just that the power circuit isn't as simple as looking at it at a glance and thinking that the issue is, you know, like usually when you see these decoupling caps here, right by chips, they're going to be your 5 volt rail. Obviously in this case that one isn't. That goes onto the other side and underneath, and I think it's to do with the whole complicated audio circuit. So I think we just carry on where we were, which is I don't think this is going to be, obviously it won't be trace issue, it's a brand new board, it won't be soldering, very unlikely soldering because we've done so many checks on it. I think we are still dealing with component failure, so let's just swap. See, I don't want to swap this because of this wheel. Let's swap this out just because it's easier to swap. There's nothing melty in this area. Oh, and then I've got my chip again that's going to be all nice and bent pins. Wow, so we're going to have to straighten these out as well. Look at the state of this one. I should probably store them in a hard... Well, I think it was in a hard box. I think we nicked them in the hard box after I stored it away. And that's what happens when we haven't put the blue mat down for that. Short to ground, the power draws like perfect, so it's drawing 400 milliamps with the modded screen, 100 without. So we've got no excessive power draw. There might be a blown fuse, but I think there's only one fuse, and that's new. And we bypass it when I jump it on the 5 volt output. We're actually bypassing the fuse altogether. So I'll do one last before we remove it. I'll power it up after the fuse just to be double sure. But yeah, the fuse has already been bypassed, I think. I don't think there's any other fuse bar that one. I think they're all close enough to land on the pads they need to, and then we'll go down with a soldering iron after to get them pushed down when it's on, like we did the other chip. They're like not quite in line. I think it's that one. These are all slightly over, to be honest, all of them. Closer. Yep, they're close enough. So just before we chuck this on, let's double check it's not something blatantly obvious like a fuse by bypassing the fuse altogether. We could also try, down here's 5 volts, and no, that doesn't, that basically gives us, oh, you can't see, that gives us exactly the same behaviour as before, jumping the 5 volts there. We had 5 volts obviously on the output side here. But because the system has a pretty complicated 5 volt rail, it might be that like a transistor's not switching. So one of them existing transistors maybe isn't always applying power and transferring it through, because it's clearly not just 5 volts and it goes everywhere. There's a few places it seems to be going off to different points. So let me just see if I can figure out anything more about the you know, where the 5 volt rail's ending up after it's been regulated. Power comes in, we have the backlight we don't care about, which we're not enabling. Then we have power. Yeah, there's 3 kind of, there's 3 sections to the power. Yeah, this is quite a messy. Quite a message voltage. Oh, you know what? I wonder. No, because I've done it before. I was going to say, I wonder if you're bypassing the 5 volts, if you're going to have issues, but you're not. It's I've done this multiple times. Yeah, I might have to reverse engineer this power circuit a bit more. This is definitely not a, yeah, definitely not a straightforward power circuit. But for booting, is it simple for us? What's the main rail? Yeah, it's unique to the PC Engine GT, so it doesn't match the PC Engine power circuit either. So far, I've found 4 different power rails that this looks like it's making. A lot of them are for the backlight, so we don't care about that too much. Yeah, one's for the trigger of the H-Sync pulse, so we don't care about that. Oh, there's another rail there as well, jeez. Yeah, there's loads of tons of voltage rails. One for the audio, which we know kind of works. If we focused on just the main chips, we could look for just, you know, the main core components should all share the same voltage rail. Audio won't matter too much because we've got the modern screen on. We shouldn't really need any other voltage rail anyway. Inductors, there's a lot of inductors passing through this as well. So let's try and just narrow down the voltage rail. Yeah, this is so messy. This power circuit really wants to be cleaned up. Right, so it comes in through the battery, which we know works. The DC jack can disconnect battery voltage, but that doesn't matter for us because we're getting power, so it's going to work. The power switch, it comes through, and we get your 5 volts in. R706 is passing the voltage through to all the other rails. So it's actually mostly a shared power rail. The short circuit, not so much. If I connect power up through this, you can't see my bench, but if I power this up, it's drawing 400 milliamps, and that's mainly this screen. And then if you disconnect this screen, so if we take the 5 volts off the backlight screen mod, we'll get about a 100 milliamps. So this one, I'll take the backlight off, well, the whole screen off, and now we're getting, actually, we're getting 300, which is we normally get 100. Mind you, this is running through a clean power, so it might be a different efficiency now. Yeah, that's... I thought the normal power draw was about 100 milliamps, now we're getting 300. But 300 doesn't seem excessive anyway. It's not like it's actually excessive. We can run the thermal camera, we might as well have a quick look. But I don't think it's thermals. And I suppose we might as well also just reconnect that screen, because we know it's nothing to do with that. But yeah, power draw wise, I'm not overly looking at shorts or things, just because the power draw seems well within the norm. So power that up, and then thermal on this, we can have a quick look. The regulator will probably be running with a little bit of warmth there, because it's obviously powering the whole board, so that's expected. This area is, lift it up out the way. Yeah, nothing over. Let's see what it says. 50. That's maybe D207. It's probably passing power through this little Q200. There's a little bit warm. Whether that's signifying anything, I've not really done thermals on a working board to see any unexpected. You know, that might be normal temps. That's D, so that's another diode. So diodes will get a bit of heat, and 40 is normal, so I don't think it's that. Yeah, nothing at all getting anything that you wouldn't expect. The only thing I'd say is maybe this little diode pack, this Q200, maybe that's not meant to be getting to 50, but it's touch cool, so it's not really, I don't think that's an issue. It's funny how we get such intermittent boot though. That does typically lead you down the route of a failed component, and like I say, this system has had 9 volts in it. Before we've worked on it, we've seen that the original regulator circuit isn't working, so that means it will have had 9 volts in the chips. So that also, I think we're probably on the right track. What we're doing is just swapping these chips out for working ones. So we know that now is our working one. We know that's our working one. So let's just swap this one out. Let's do what we were going to do and swap this chip out. And then I think we'd probably have to call it a day on the diagnostics, because the customer's not paid for any of this yet. So he'd really, he's selected that the system works when he's paid for the work, which obviously he then wrote in the note that it doesn't even work. So it's kind of a contradictory statement, but I guess we were hoping that when we did the swap, everything would just work, and that's not quite the case. We've seen it boot now a few times, but even when it booted, there's like some glitchy issue on some chip. So he does have an issue somewhere on the board, and it does need the diagnostics, otherwise it's not a very useful board. And we can't rule out that it's the the cartridge slot isn't a part of the problem. It just seemed very unlikely, because once we got the game booting we could wiggle the cartridge port all over the place and it stayed on. But maybe at that part of the game it doesn't load off the game slot. You know, once it gets to a certain part in the game, maybe then it's not even accessing the cartridge. So we could still be looking at cartridge slot fault on top of some other graphical fault. That looks quite aligned to me, not too bad. Probably left that fan on a little bit longer. Jeez, still smoky. Right, and this is likely going to have some pins like the other one that we need to flatten. So let's take a look under the scope. Yeah, so quite a few of these, we could probably twist these in. I think there's quite a few legs on here we want to nudge over. So they're soldered on, but they're quite, in fact let's start this side so we nudge over. We might as well position these accurately. Alright, we've done the other one. Set on that one. Now we go to this side. That luckily looks all okay. Let's just push the pins. We want to make sure, with these pins being out of shape initially, that even though they look good, they're not floating, which is fine. This one probably just needs nudging over slightly. You almost feel like a dentist when you're pushing on all these pins to see if they move. That one's definitely floating. Get him down. think that's all them pins done. Yep, so that's another known working chip on. Let's see if that's got us anywhere. 5 volts on there. Nope, we actually now have a red screen more consistently. Which we didn't have before. So we've got a change in behaviour. We're now getting a solid colour screen, which is different. But we shouldn't really, well, we shouldn't really see a change in behaviour, but I suppose if that CPU was partly faulty and part of the cause, that was why it was glitching randomly. Yeah, seems fine. Let me just try a flash cart so it bypasses any kind of security checks as well. That's a flash cart. So we can also try switching between regions with this one then as well, just to be sure. So this can go in on one region, go to Turbo Graphics. Nope, so obviously, oh yeah, that's because we've got a wrong region thing in there. Yeah, not getting very far with this. I just don't know, the fact we've got the purple screen constantly. I'm going to take that back off and put the customers back on just for now, because that to me doesn't seem right, that we've gone backwards. Well, we may have gone backwards, you may just have a better stable behaviour, so it's stably going to purple screen, and we could just be dealing with this connector. But let's just put the customer's CPU back on, and then if not, I think they're just going to have to pay for diagnostics, and we'll probably then crack out my working PC Engine and transfer the chips onto, you know, validate the core chips. I think that's the ultimate way. We're guessing which chip it might be, even though we've replaced most of them, but it wants some proper structured diagnostics, I think, than just having a quick jab at getting it going. And this is really just trying to get it going without, you know, taking too much time up, basically. So at least we know, like, majority of the system is perfectly fine and working because we've seen it boot up, basically. So it's a good sign that we've actually seen something boot, otherwise we wouldn't be sure where we were heading. But because we have seen this actively loading multiple times, we know a huge part of the system is effectively working. Yeah, better position. So this is the customer's 6260 going back on, and it's still got our VDP, which didn't change any of the behaviour really, so I think the VDP staying on is no problem. But I'm suspecting that it's just one of the simplest things, which is this really weak cartridge connector. That's what I am being led to, even though when we're wobbling it, it's like it didn't seem to change when we wobbled it when it was loaded into a certain part of the game. If you remember previous to that, we did actually wobble it and move it, and it crashed the game. So it's like we have two different behaviours. So I think we could well be onto that. Just everything is fine. Well, I say everything. We've got the graphics glitches as well, but I am suspecting this cartridge port. I kind of want to get another cartridge port so we know it's good, and then we can rule that out, because it's definitely suspicious. And we know it was weak because we had to repair 3 traces as well. So I'm not overly confident in that cartridge connector being the best quality at all. And I guess the coloured screen is really a semi-telltale sign that, you know, the system's working, because that's also the system's generating the video signal and giving it that colour. So it's like, you know, that's also another positive. I'd probably aim at suspecting, because again, bear in mind, we tested every component on this board and we inspected every bit of solder when we did it the first time around, and we had absolutely no issues, and we were kind of guaranteed no issues. So the only thing it could have been would have been these chips that we're swapping now. These like core chips are the only thing that could fail. So yeah, I'm leaning towards it being this board is where I'd like to go next probably. So we'll see what the customer wants to do, I think, and then I'd probably I think the smart thing would be to get a spare one of these. So we can test. We test continuity or with a scope on every one of these pins to make sure there's no hairline fractures on these other connectors. You know, do some proper diagnostics, not just, like I say, rushing it around to try and get it working. I don't think we're going to get this working by just a quick probe around. I think we need, again, a full diagnostics job doing on this. Let me just quickly inspect that, you know, nothing's kind of moving or fallen off the board since we first worked on it. So let's just go how we are on the overhead. Let me unplug some bits. So let's just check there's nothing, you know, knocked off or fallen off while we've been warming up. We've still got the ground there. We know we get the power because obviously we've bypassed everything. We've injected power clean into the system, bypassing this regulator, the fuse, everything. So I don't think we're dealing with power issues or fuse issues. I'll clean that off after I'll fully clean this board. So we're really just looking for if any components have moved since we first powered it on, which I doubt we'll find, but we'll still have a look. Obviously we've got under this board, which is a bit hard to look at, but there's nothing under there really. There's one cap there we can see, so nothing's going to have gone missing under there. No, nothing that side, so let's flip over. This is meant to be missing here, this resistor. Yeah, that's fine, just looked a bit visually like there might have been dirt on that then. That bridge is what we know we need to do and does work. Yeah, so there's nothing at all on this board wrong. The soldering is sound, we've inspected it tons. Every component was tested, so you know, every component bar the main black ICs we can't really test. So there's nothing else more we can do here except a full diagnostics now. So oscilloscope, treating it like a new system that's come in, and basically this thing doesn't boot. But obviously the customer's going to have to see if they want that work doing. So that's them. They are the customers up there at the minute. They're my chips. Let's give it one last boot, just because we've obviously swapped the customer's CPU back on, just to see, well, not CPU, but see if that changes behaviour at all. See, so it changes behaviour, but just the colour of the screen. And I think some revisions of the 6260, this is a different revision, because this is FO1, this is FOX. I think the blank, you know, the blank coloured screen is kind of, you get varying coloured screens. Like, see how this is power cycling different screens. That's what can happen basically. I don't have another spare slot. No, I thought I did. Not without fully opening up a console. So the only thing I'm going to suspect is it really is just this connector. Let's focus heavily on this this cartridge connector, just because everything seems to be fine except that. Let's try this. See, and that, again, a similar thing, removing games live gives you the random noise, which again, similar to what Game Gear does. And like, look, that's the CPU trying to run corrupt code. So I'm sure it's going to be this cartridge connector. And unfortunately, until yeah, I'm almost positive, almost convinced it's this. Yeah, that's trying to load corrupt data. It's this cartridge connector. Almost put money on it. That's probably the only issue we've got, and it's the only thing we haven't actually replaced, because I don't make one at the minute. Yeah. It's a shame I don't have a spare one, because I'm absolutely convinced it's this thing. Okay, 5 more minutes. I'm going to quickly scope the pins. I'm curious. Connector itself. Which connector? This side or the green side? I guess we can just look at both. They look fine. The green, not the flex, the connector. Like that one, you're thinking like a... Yeah, they all look okay to me. I mean, obviously, I can reflow them pins, but let's just scope these pins now. See if when we boot, something's trying to happen. Where am I streaming besides YouTube? Twitch, Facebook, and TikTok. And now I'm just gonna try and boot up and probe these pins. I'm just gonna have a quick go because, like I said, this is well outside of what the customers paid for. They paid for absolutely no diagnostics, and we're probably 2 hours into the diagnostic side of it, unpaid at the minute. So I need to try and get to some kind of conclusion on it. Right, so if I overlay the screen, and then we can power cycle. Right, so that pin's got nothing. This one's sitting at a suspicious middle voltage, which could just be the data line. We haven't got the pin out of this at the minute. That one is a little bit dodgy, that connection, but nothing on. So I'm just going to mainly look for, this is like the system obviously trying to load something or do something, and it's just not getting anywhere. So let's just go down all these and see. That's got nothing, but when we turned off it had something, which was interesting. Ah, there you go. It's had one attempt when you turn on and off. So that signal's good, but it's attempting to load and then failing by the looks of it. So this is, again, the fact that all these signals are pulsing. It's kind of a good thing because it's saying, obviously, the system's alive and trying to do something. I don't know why I'm looking at that. I've got it on screen here. I keep twisting my head and I've got it in front of me. Right, so nothing on that. That's power cycle. Oh, that's ground, you can see. Right, so this is this looks like the data part of it here. So it tries to load the game, and then it's going in loops. We are repairing a PC Engine GT. We're about 20 hours into this thing now. It's had a full complete swap over onto a new board, and we've had it booting a few times, but there's graphics glitches, and now we basically don't really get any consistent boot at all for a long while. I'm suspecting this cartridge connector, but the customer's not paid for any diagnostics yet. This pin's getting nothing, but I did see something there once. So that's what I'm suspecting, maybe that pin. So I'm sure I saw it once on there, and we're getting nothing. So that one's sus, fourth one over. So that one's 5 volt there. This won't be a broken trace because it's at 5 volts but doesn't have activity. This one is a bit sus. It's just like floating around. So these two are big suspects. Oh, there you go. That's now got pins on, but that didn't have data on before. See how it's rarely. So yeah, that's not hitting the same data on power cycles. That's random. So yeah, see how it's just completely nothing. But then if we toggle on and off a few times, you'll get this one to go. There you go, and then you've got data on it. So that's a sign that there's data not getting through. So let me try to see what that one is. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we've got 1, 2, 3, the fourth pin over here. So let's just try there. Yeah, so nothing on there. So the fourth pin from down here. No, so it's from this side as well. So this is, yeah, this is definitely going to have some digging around this. We need to really put these chips in to eliminate the chips, I think. We need to put the main ICs into like a working PC Engine or GT. Prove that the chips are working. And then go from there, basically, because this is very much intermittent behaviour. So there's many ways we could go with it. So I really need to get back to the customer and see where they want to go with it. I'd say you've got at least another 2 or 3 hours of diagnostics here, so you've still got another 90 quid for really digging into this, I think, any further. The goal would be prove the chips that we can't prove on this board, or we haven't proved, which is the 3 main ICs and the 3 RAMs. Swap them off onto a working system, so we know all the chips on this board are good, like everything, every capacitor, resistor, all that's already been proven except these. If we prove all them, that'll probably take like an hour and a half. We can then focus on this, and if this becomes the issue, we might have to design a board, basically. So I think that's where we're at with it. It's had like well over the paid labour time at the minute, and it was a completely non-working system before, but now we have, well, we did have signs of life on and off. We've not had signs of life now for a little while, but I'm sure there's a solution to it if we kept digging. It's just a shame that we can't get it to kind of randomly boot. I wonder if we can get it booting with slightly over voltage. So like bypassing everything, and I know we've seen it booting anyway, but just want to see that boot once more since we've never seen it boot for so long. I wonder if I put it in like 5.2, because like on the Game Gear, slightly changing the output voltage could account for chips that were on the way out to dying, and it would make them work again. So nah, it doesn't look like it's going to be. We're not going to be lucky enough to see it up and running again, I don't think, before we go. It seems like it's just whatever was making it boot intermittently before was definitely not anymore. Which is a shame. See, why is that doing that? Oh, just bad connection there. Come on, give us one boot before we go. One quick reflow of these pins. Just be nice to see it even work once. Anything. Give us some hint that you're still alive. Fresh resolder on that. Okay, there's even more signs that it's possibly this. Just reflowed them pins and now black screen. Yes, there's definitely something wrong with this connector. All we've done is reflowed them pins. There's no short on it and now it's total black screen. So that change in behaviour is definitely, that's something. All we've done is reflowed these pins. It's got to be this board. Or at least one of the problems is this board for sure. We've done nothing else but reflow them pins and now it's permanent black screen. So that's good in one way. That's a big sign it's this connector. Like, you know, obviously not the brand new wires I've put in, but it's definitely a sign it is this. Flip the ribbon around for good luck and then we'll call it a day for now. But the fact we've just reflowed that and it's gone to black screen's a pretty good sign that it's, you know. Why have we only got 200 milli? Yeah, there's something with this because now the power draw's dropped from 500 to 200. And moving this, yeah, look, moving this is causing. Yeah, it's this. It's definitely that. Reckon we can get the perfect position to get this to load. But yeah, you tell me that isn't this connector when reflowing it's got it changing behaviour. Moving it around, we're getting different loads and crackles. It's just the connector, I reckon. Where's the power switch? Yeah, it's definitely this. I don't think it's the ribbon. I've got plenty of them. It's brand new. I can swap it around, but no, I think it's micro fractures on these because these have already got micro fractures. I think this connector is dead. I'm pretty sure that's all it is. Just be nice to, like I say, get one boot to show you that it would be. Just change the connector out again, just for a fresh ribbon. But that reflowing of them pins has pretty heavily convinced me it's just hopefully a connector issue. So let's put a brand new one in. Then this goes in this way, and these are the correct pins. Yeah, they definitely are. Plus, we saw it loading once, so we know that the ribbon itself has the correct pins and stuff like that. That's in, and yeah, so not the actual blue thing, but yeah, we're back to that blue screen now, pushing on. Yeah, it's going to be that. I think we just need to swap it. I think we need to find another one of these, or take one out of mine and swap that. Bent pin. Let's have a quick look. No, all those pins seem fine. They're hard to see, obviously, because they're very dark, but I can see them with my eye. In fact, I can probably, well, it doesn't really matter bending it down, you're not going to see, but no, there's no bent pins there. It's going to be this, if anywhere. This, I think there's going to be just hairline fractures on some of these, because you see these ones basically lifted and moved. I think these are going to be hairline fractures across there, which we could, again, it all comes down to time and money, but we could move these pins over with wires, every single one. We could clean this with vinegar. It's all just time, but luckily, when we just reflowed, all we did was, well, you've seen it, reflowed these pins on the connector, and then it completely changed the behaviour of the system. It just went to black screen constantly. So that was a fairly definitive test, really, that just reflowing this connector made it change behaviour. No, I think I've touched this board enough for today that it's not going to load for me, but I think we know where we're going with it. I'm fairly confident we're going to say, there you go, see, almost, we've got screen graphics. Moving this around is absolutely causing that to happen. Yeah, it's this. I wonder if it's the connectors themselves. No, that's it, I think. You've seen some signs of life, and I think this is the next logical step. The fact this causes intermittent behaviour and random behaviour, we need to sort of investigate that. So, kind of a bummer that we spent all this time on it, and we got it working 90% of the way, and then we've not seen it working in a while, but yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. I just want to hear the noise. Let's have a quick look. These solder things are all absolutely rock solid. It won't be these. He says. No, not that one. No, connectors are all absolutely rock solid. I'd say it's going to be these here, you know, like fractures between here and things, but like I say, we have to put a limit on it. We've got to do other things and obviously see if the customer wants to carry on with that side, but what a shame. So close. Like I say, we can get it working, but it's whether the customer wants to continue to invest in the extra time, because it's had a crazy amount of time now. Stupid board. Just want to see the boot. But like I say, I've got pretty good confidence it's this thing though. I know we've done it a million times, but see, it's the difference in behaviour when you're touching around here that causes it. So yeah, see, like it's trying to load. It's definitely corruption somewhere, I'd say. And my suspicion is like it might be completely in the wrong ballpark looking at this connector. It might be this IC, but we need proper diagnostics. We need to put these chips in a working system, so we're not just guessing where we're going, because it could be any of these main black chips. It could be the cartridge connector. We don't know. It could be any of them, and it needs some time on it. So That'll do for this one, guys. Unfortunately, not the most exciting at the end, but at least we did see it booting. And I'm sure we'll get it back up and running. I'll just contact the customer now, see where they want to go with this one. So I will catch you guys probably tomorrow now. I've got to do software all day today, so I'll probably catch you guys tomorrow.